What's up, Bills Mafia? I'm Fernando Schmude. This is your Leading the Charge. And I'm back after a long time, right? Long time no see, but I'm back talking Bills here. So today we're going to talk state of the Bills after the surprising Sean McDermott firing yesterday, and even more surprising, Brandon Beane promotion in the same day, right? I should have Randy Hardman with me soon. He's going through some technical problems, but should join soon as he gets it fixed. But please hit that like button, subscribe to my own Fernando Schmude YouTube channel. Also subscribe to Rumblings Network and support our job. I'm also on writing as a contributor at buffalorumblings.com. So please check it out, check our content there, and support us. So yesterday, a lot of crazy stuff happening in Buffalo, right? Why do I call it crazy? Because honestly, we've been feed all season long that McDermott's seat wasn't warm at all. Beane's seat wasn't warm at all, and that Pegula, especially from people there from Buffalo. I'm not in Buffalo, right? But from people there in Buffalo, people wanna call Pegula lazy or delusional or he doesn't do anything. But Pegula, at least in my opinion, I know there are a lot of people mad at Sean McDermott being fired yesterday, and especially even more mad because Brandon Beane has been promoted. But uh, I think, in my opinion, Terry Pegula showed a lot of desire to win at Super Bowl soon for Buffalo. He could very well simply sit on his desk and keep Sean McDermott, keep Beane. Everybody was kind of expecting that, even if not agreeing with it, right? But entering a new stadium now, tickets going higher, he needs to fill those seats. McDermott has been there 9 years, and the way McDermott has manipulated or has talked to the media, and also because his job this year, it wasn't a bad job at all. McDermott is far from being a bad head coach. Okay, that's a really good, a great regular season head coach who's had his struggles in the playoffs, right? But there is no question about how good of a leader of man McDermott is, how he's beloved by his or most of his players. Nobody can be beloved by everybody, right? There's no question about how his players never quit on him. There were several seasons where the locker room, the team could have imploded because of some poor results and coordination changes, difficult times, but the players kept believing in him, kept playing hard, and kept getting the results in the regular season and making it to the playoffs, even if there they couldn't be at their best, and McDermott hasn't been at their best in the playoffs. So no question about the quality of Coach McDermott, no question about um, his character as a head coach, right? And how beloved he is by his players. But there are a lot of questions about his performances on the field, his player development, and especially his performance in the playoffs, right? We're coming yet again from a game where his defense allowed 33 points to an offense that hasn't been impressive at all during this season, all right? And too bad Bo Nix got hurt, because we won't be able to see how this same offense would do against the Patriots defense, against the Texans defense, obviously the game against the Patriots. So, but I'm pretty confident that Nix wouldn't have nowhere near the same success he had against the Bills, against the Patriots defense. And I'm sad to talk about it because I'm pretty certain about it even more, because we could see during the game against the Broncos a stretch where the Bills defense was aggressive, and they were extremely successful against that Broncos offense, right? From the start of the third quarter until midway through the fourth quarter, the Bills defense dominated when they were sending the hit, sending blitzes, being aggressive. What makes you question why they didn't go aggressive since the beginning, right? Why couldn't they game plan it better and be aggressive since the beginning, not let Bo Nix get comfortable and start playing confidently? Why wait for the second half? And it was a trend all season long. We had the defense starting slowly having a bad first half and then recovering the second half and playing amazing. What are they doing with their game plan? What film are they watching? What are they preparing for that they always need to start so slow in the first half? And there is no way you can't avoid putting it on McDermott and Babbage as his coordinator. It's his defense. We know all of that, right? And then in the fourth quarter, all of a sudden, when we needed one stop to win a game, when the Bills offense, with all their mistakes, all the turnovers, they left the field with 4 minutes left and a 4-point lead, the Bills defense simply needing one less stop, they reverted back on 3rd and 11 back to soft coverage and allowed a 3rd and 14 completion that went for 20-something yards. And right after that, Dane Jackson, a player that was playing simply because McDermott overplayed Tre'Davious White and Maxwell Hairston in week 18. That's why Dane Jackson was there playing, and not because it was poor roster construction or stuff. They didn't need to play Maxwell Hairston all game long against the Jets. They could have played Isaiah McKenzie as a cornerback like they did in the past. But no. They lost Maxwell Hairston. They put Dane Jackson in the game. In the same game, when they put Savage in the game, he was attacked as soon as he stepped on the field. They put Dane Jackson there in a game-winning situation, and they allow him to be beat over the top without any help. So there is no defense for that. As much as people love McDermott as a person or want to give him credit for a lot of stuff, and he deserves so, there are no excuses for stuff like that in the biggest moments. So with all those failures, it's difficult to defend McDermott and to say, oh, he deserved the 10th year with Josh Allen in his prime. Josh Allen, who's, by the way, will enter next season as a 30-year-old dad, right? So how can we defend giving this guy a 10th year, right? And then he gets fired, and people all of a sudden don't focus on the main stuff, McDermott getting fired, but focus on Brandon Beane being promoted. And I'm not here by any means to defend Brandon Beane because I've been very critical of him and his choices. I criticized Brandon Beane actually before it was cool, when everybody was like, big baller Beane and oh, Beane is the guy and stuff like that. And I was like, Beane is Whaley, but he's lucky because he has Josh and not EJ Manuel. And people were like, you're crazy, Fernando. You're what are you talking about? And now everybody hates Brandon Beane. He's the worst GM ever. Everybody would take Whaley over him, right? And here I am defending Brandon Beane. No, I'm not really defending Brandon Beane, but I'm trying to make sense of everything that's happening. And to make sense of it, I will welcome to the show my friend Randy Hardman. Randy, welcome to the show, brother. Long time no see. Thank you for joining me today.
How's it going?
Awesome, brother. How are you?
Well, interesting start to the week for sure, right?
Absolutely. I was completely numb and sad during the Sunday, right? Couldn't do anything right. Completely not productive. But Yes, Monday kind of injected some hope into my veins because, as much as respect Sean McDermott as a person and as a coach, and I'm thankful for what he contributed to the change of ways during a tough time in the franchise. Man, it was time. I can't go against that. It was about time, and 9 years with Josh Allen. You can't really wish to have more than that to win one, And I wish him the best. He might learn from it and win somewhere else. Who knows? Can happen, right? But for us, it was time. I can't change my mind about that. Would like to know about your opinion, brother.
Yeah, I mean, look, it nothing that we're saying is about Sean McDermott the person. None of it is to diminish the things that he accomplished while he was here. 98 wins is tremendously successful in a 9-year run. I think the problem comes in is, as you mentioned, is that when you have a generational quarterback, and let's be clear, that's a big reason for having him is because of Brandon Beane. Okay, you have a generational quarterback in place. You don't get over the hump, and your defense is allowed 30 plus points every time they lose in the postseason. At some point, you have to take ownership of that. Now, you can get into draft picks and who's pulling what trigger and all that, and we can talk about that. But at the end of the day, if you're a defensive head coach, you've had the overwhelming majority of high-level picks on defense with the exception of one big offensive swing, and your defense continually lets you down. Your defense, you are the architect of it. No matter who the coordinator is, you're the one making those calls and saying we need these type of guys, positional archetypes. Those are based around the McDermott system that he brought in. Fails repeatedly, year over year over year over year. That's why he got fired. It's not because he's a bad guy. It's not because of anything else. He got fired because his side continually failed when it mattered the most. Josh Allen leaves you with a lead coming off the field. Your defense allows a 3rd and 11, soft coverage on 3rd and 11 again.
And
After the
blitzes
13
were
seconds.
working, brother. Blitzes they were like shutting them down in the second half until that point.
Yeah, after the 13-second debacle and everything else that's happened over the years, you're in a situation. It's 3rd and 11. You need one stop to move on. One stop. And what do? You call soft coverage again. And they convert and they drive 73 yards down the field to take it to overtime. That's why you get fired after 9 years and 98 wins. Because when it matters the most, your calls and your defense come up short. Period.
Exactly, brother. And what's the excuse? For example, okay, he can blame Brandon Beane because the roster is bad, right? Or I don't have
Can
the
you?
players. I don't think so, and I will get there. But I mean, okay, I lost Maxwell Hairston injured because your choice. But okay, I lost him injured, and I gotta play Dan Jackson. He doesn't gotta play Dan Jackson, but he's more comfortable with him than maybe a younger guy or a different guy from different place, different scheme, right? And okay, you put him on the field because you are forced. Okay, not really, but you are forced to put him on the field. What's the excuse to not send help to his side, knowing that Sean Payton will attack him? He just did it to Savage. Another crazy choice because you have Hancock, who was drafted, who's been there for the entire training camp, playbook installments, everything, played all season long. At some point, he was sharing snaps with Jordan Poyer, playing clear third down situations, third and long situations. He was the starting safety for that package. And you choose to go with Savage in the biggest game because maybe Hancock missed a tackle against the Jaguars. What's the skills for this kind of stuff? You are a defensive mastermind. You can send help to not allow Dan Jackson, who's never been fast, to get beat over the top. You can allow a field goal there, but you can't allow a touchdown there. So this kind of stuff you can't cover for that, Randy. As much as you love somebody loves Sean McDermott, And I can sound like a hater. It's crazy because sometimes Bills Mafia tell I'm a homer. Then they tell me I'm a hater, right? Now I'm a Brandon Beane defender, but when it wasn't cool, it was a Brandon Beane hater, right? And with McDermott, it's the same. Like I can see a lot of values. I root really hard for him to get over the hump because I think he's an easy guy to root for. Even he's not perfect, but he's an easy guy to root for. But man, it's time. You can't get the job done. But Josh Allen and Bills Mafia is willing to criticize the biggest asset they have, the main reason they are competitive, the main reason they are there, and say Josh Allen cost us the game because of 4 turnovers. And they can ignore that one of the turnovers was actually a game-winning pass that the refs simply called an interception when they literally never call it an interception, right?
Yeah.
Another of the turnovers was a strip sack fumble that he had no fault. And the other one, which was his fault, he was put in a bad situation. It can be shared with Sean McDermott, who could simply say, take a knee. It's a 7-point lead for them, but we get the ball after the half. So he put Josh in a bad situation. Josh is no young kid anymore, so he must know better and take care of the football there. But still, with 2 turnovers that was responsible for, he threw 3 touchdown passes. He moved the offense all game long. He was the reason we were still in the game, and he gave the defense a chance and McDermott a chance to finally make it right in the playoffs and earn a win, making a stop. And don't tell me he made a stop against the Jaguars with 1 minute left and no timeouts for the Jaguars, because they actually failed in the drive before, and thankfully there was time for the offense to go there and score a touchdown. So it wasn't the first time in these playoffs that his defense failed, right? So, man, it was time. And I can't be mad, or I can't really not understand it, the firing of Sean McDermott, because another decision might be poor of keeping Brandon Beane or making him a team president of football operations. And it's debatable, and we're going to talk about it. How poor is this decision of keeping Beane? And is it justified for a lot of Bills Mafia to be mad and to be criticizing Pegula and saying, oh, he sucks because he elevated Brandon Beane now?
You know what? I think it's really surface level to say that, oh, well, Beane made the picks. Okay, yeah, he's the guy in the room making the pick, right? How many of those picks are influenced by the positional archetypes that Sean McDermott promotes for his defense? How many times do you have to see a rotational defensive lineman taken high in the draft that fits the scheme? How many times do we see a run-stuffing edge taken that can't pass rush? How many times do we have to see tweeners taken and they're asked to put on weight and lose weight and put on weight and lose weight, and we don't know if they're playing inside or outside? Why in the hell are you putting TJ Sanders on the edge? Why? What is the purpose behind that? I went through earlier today, and now this is without getting into guys that they passed on. This isn't even beginning to scratch the surface of the conversation of, taking guys like Hairston over Imanuri, who is an absolute Swiss Army knife monster in Seattle this year, and we proved that we needed help at safety. We're not even going to get into that, really, okay? Over the 9 years that McDermott was here, our defensive picks in the first 3 rounds, 15. Offense, 11. But here's the balance of that. In the first round, 6 defense, 2 offense. 2. In the second round, 4 defense, 5 offense. In the third, 5 defense, 4 offense. The major imbalance is in the first round. The guys in the first round that we've taken, 3 corners, Trey, Elam, Hairston. And then you've got Oliver on the inside, Groot on the inside, Tremaine Edmonds, who's long gone. I mean, it if you can't see that McDermott is driving the train on a lot of these picks, then I don't know what to tell you. Basham, Epinesa, Groot, Landon Jackson. These are McDermott picks. These are McDermott archetypes that he's going for.
Exactly. Landon Jackson, man, he was such a McDermott pick. Big defensive end and athletic and stuff. Man, it was all over, but it's not a Beane pick. It's a McDermott pick. It's his archetype. Big defensive ends, long arms,
Yeah.
How can Brandon Beane draft like one of those Velociraptor types, defensive ends, smaller, faster? If it doesn't fit McDermott defense, he won't play the guy. Let me remind you one stuff. Remember you one stuff. Von Miller's last season in Buffalo wasn't his best season of his career. Obviously, he wasn't prime Von Miller anymore, but he was clearly better than his first year back from injury, right? In his last season as a Bill, and he ended up with playing fewer snaps than Epinesa, than Rousseau. He ended up leading the team or leading the defensive ends in sacks with 6 sacks or something, right? In the game we were eliminated, Von Miller almost didn't play. McDermott going AJ Epinesa in front of him, going with other guys in front of Von Miller, who isn't by any means a big, long-armed defensive end, Sean McDermott archetype. He's more of a smaller, faster pass rusher, right? He didn't fit, and McDermott simply didn't use him enough, and he was still the best pass rusher on the team, right? And we got eliminated without using Von Miller. That's an example of you adding a guy because he was a quality guy. He was the best option available when he was added. Didn't actually fit the archetype, but best option available. What did McDermott do? He simply didn't use the guy enough, right? How about Puna Ford? How about Tim Settle, who has been good, but for the Bills he had to lose weight, right? How about a lot of free agent additions that been made? Mike Edwards didn't even play. He was a Super Bowl champion with the Chiefs. He came here and he couldn't play ahead of Damar Hamlin because Damar Hamlin knew the schemes, right?
Yeah, so, and that's another thing is that sticking with familiarity versus trusting your coaches to get a more talented player up to speed. It's another frustration. The Puna Ford is an excellent example. He comes in as a guy that you should be familiar with. He's a good player. He can't even get any sort of playing time with us whatsoever. Yeah, why does that happen? Why does that happen? It doesn't make any sense, except that the coach, your head coach, who's pulling the trigger, is the one saying, no, we need somebody that's more familiar with the system, somebody that fits the system better, that's more familiar, that has, more time in it.
Exactly. And people want to put and people want to put it on Beane, like, oh, Boyer is back because of Beane. Dane is back because of Beane. Shaq Lawson, Jordan Phillips are back because of Brandon Beane. Come on now. Those are guys who played in McDermott's schemes, and it's pretty clearly by the time those guys were being added, right? If it was on Beane, he would add them back in the free agency. But they are being added during the season because the head coach is like, those guys that I have, they don't know the schemes. I need the guys who are familiar with the schemes. Bring me back that guy. I like him. Bring back that guy. He will get the job done. And now people are blaming Beane that the roster sucks when it's filled with veteran players from McDermott. Man, do you think it's Beane bringing Dean Marlowe, AJ Klein, playing AJ Klein over Dorian Williams because Dorian Williams is a rookie, playing Damar Hamlin over Bishop an entire season, and then people were, Bishop sucks. Bishop sucks, and I was out there. Bishop is our most athletic safety. He's a second-round pick. You gotta give him a chance. He might suck, but he gotta play. If he doesn't play, how can he develop? And you gotta give him confidence, okay? Kyle Elam was a bust, but we'll never know if things were different when they brought him in. What if instead of saying, man, you suck playing zone, man, you can't tackle, instead of that, a guy who always been a star athlete in college, you give him confidence and say, look, you can run, you can play man press. Let's run and play a little bit of man press as you develop other areas in our schemes, and give the guy the confidence. Man, he had a great game against the Dolphins in the playoffs in his first year, and he was a backup all year long. Next year, he was a backup again. They never built momentum with him. And then out of nothing, oh, he sucks and he's a bust. We'll never know if they actually developed guys correctly, used guys correctly. And that's on the head coach and the coaching staff, developing those guys, using them instead of preferring Savage over Hancock, preferring Hamlin over Bishop, preferring Klein over Dorian Williams.
And I mean, look, this doesn't absolve Beane of making some bad selections.
Exactly.
That's not what it's about. I mean, there are some outright bad picks in there. I mean, if you want to go to the offensive side, you know, I mean, he traded Wyatt Teller. He took Cody Ford, you know. I mean, like,
Boogie
those
Basham.
are some – yeah, well, Boogie Basham. But, again, Basham was more of a McDermott
Archetype.
Archetype that was just the wrong pick, right? But he's trying to give the coach what he wants. He's saying, all right, you tell me what you want, like what you're looking for in these different positions. I'm going to go try and find the best guy that fits what you're asking me for, right? Because he's got to fit this. He's got to fit the system. It's not about finding a talented player that you can work with. It's about they got to fit in my system because I'm not flexible enough to make a more talented guy to find a role for him. I can't get a better player in and make a role for him. I got to make them. They have to fit within my scheme. Otherwise, it's not going to work. That's a problem.
Exactly.
That's the problem.
You said it all. And if we look at the draft, there is a reason Beane finds better or more talent in later rounds than in early rounds. When you analyze, and for example, this year, he traded up and drafted TJ Sanders, a 5 technique defensive tackle. We didn't really have the need for this 5 technique. We were more like we need a guy to pair with Ed Oliver, a bigger guy. But no, they drafted another similar 5 technique defensive tackle, trading up for him, right? Now
So Sanders, and I want to clarify something. I think Sanders does kind of fit because he is a bigger guy. He is like, what, 6'4", 6'5". He's a bigger guy, you know. So moving forward, let's just say, Daquan Jones is more than likely going to be gone. He's old anyway, right? Mm-hmm. So you've got Oliver, Sanders, and Walker, you know, as your primary 3 on the inside, and then you're looking for really one other to rotate through, right? Am I missing somebody?
No. Carter has been injured, but Carter was a 3rd-round pick from 1 year before. So back in the draft, you kind of had people. You know, you signed Ogunjobi, and you know. But my point is, like, man, McDermott was playing Sanders as a defensive end. What are you doing?
Stupid.
You know, and then Deon Walker was a major hit in the 4th round, and we know Deon Walker is a guy who would never be drafted earlier because he doesn't fit the archetype. He's a bigger guy. He's not the kind of defensive tackle that McDermott has worked with. So you technically couldn't draft him before because he wouldn't fit. And when I drafted a guy who was talented in my eyes and he didn't fit, he became a bust in Elam. So I can't do it anymore, right? I gotta draft guys that fit his system, or he won't use them, or he won't develop them. So you in 4th round, now I can draft this guy. Now I can sell this pick because it's too much talent to pass here. And it works, and he ends up playing really well and solving a lot of the problems that we could see. We needed size in the defensive line, but McDermott, he refused to play it all over his career in Buffalo, you know? So there are a lot of stuff like this that really frustrates me. And again, just like you said, it's not absolving Beane by about everything. I think what Beane did calling the radio was shameful, was ridiculous, right? I don't like his excuses to not make a trade at the deadline. I'm not saying Beane is out of nothing the best GM in the world, but what I'm saying, and I will even throw
Well,
it on the screen, and I'd like to
let's
have your opinion on that. I tweeted it, and it kind of went viral, and I had a lot of responses like, "Oh, trusting Pegula is crazy," and things like that. But let me explain. Like I tweeted, Bills Mafia is so naive about McDermott. He has been deferring blame to others since 13 seconds, and they always buy it. Pegula knows better from inside. He knows how much power McD had. Bean is far from perfect, but I trust Pegula's decision here. My point is not trusting Pegula because he's an amazing owner, because he's amazing decision maker. Not because it, but literally, I don't know. You don't know. Nobody knows the dynamics during the draft, during the free agent signings. We don't know how much say McDermott had, how much power, how much it was his last say to sign off every move. We don't know. But
so
Pegula
let's
knows it, brother.
yeah, let's go back a little bit. Let's take a couple examples here. All right. So we talk about wide receiver and how it's been an issue and everything. Well, why is it an issue, right? Why did it become an issue? We had a number one receiver here, and somehow, somewhere along the lines, that relationship soured. Why do you think that relationship soured so much? Right?
Absolutely.
I think that you could draw a line between the enigmatic receiver and a contentious relationship with a more hardline head coach. After he gets an extension from the GM and he gets good money and he's got a good relationship with the quarterback, albeit, he's a fiery guy and he doesn't like to lose. We know that about Diggs. We knew that about him in Minnesota, right? He's a fiery dude. He's been that way since Maryland, okay? But all of a sudden, the relationship sours. Why do you think that is? You think it's been building up with the head coach? I do. So Beane's put in a position where he's got to move this guy off the team for the best that he can get to try and keep the culture correct, right? And I understand that. You don't want a cancer eating away at the team if that's what it's going to become. But then your solution to it is Keon Coleman. I mean, that's where I can't absolve Beane, because you look at what they went for, and if that was Josh's call, it's on him too. If it was McDermott saying, we need a bigger receiver, it's whoever it's on that made that call, because there's nothing about Keon Coleman's overall game that translates into being a top end receiver. He's not Mike Williams. He's not Keenan Allen.
Yeah.
He's not those guys. He might look like those guys, but there was nothing about him that said he was going to be those guys. So it's like fool's gold, right? And so that's one thing, the receiver thing, and then Beane's response saying it's stupid. Well, I mean, that's completely unheard of. It's unacceptable. That's on him. Let's go back to another big fail, right? Talk about Kyer Elam and how he was kind of an outside of the archetype pick.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you think that maybe the pressure coming from the head coach to say, hey, we got to get a corner. We got to get a corner. We got to get a corner. Instead of letting Beane take a better player who had a different position, might fit better overall, whether it's offense, defense, line, safety, whatever it is. But instead, it was the pressure from the head coach that says, we got to take a corner. Get a corner. We need corners. We need corners. We need a top-end corner. And so which one is the one that's left of the group, of the tier of top-end corners in that draft class? Oh, it's Elam. Doesn't really fit what we normally do, but fuck it. Just take him. We'll do it. We like his interview. So, again, it's easy to say, well, Beane makes picks. But if you look at down the line and circumstances and situations, the pressure associated with certain picks to fit into a scheme and the positional value that they placed on defense over other things, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 9 years, investments on defense, and we were the worst defense in these playoffs remaining. I
Yeah.
think it's unquestionable, right? So it's hard to defend that. And
And
we are
then,
making.
and also consider not just picks, but extensions. I mean, let's take a look. Let's run down those defensive players and the extensions that were given based on the return of investment that we got off of them. These are all guys that got extensions at some point in this 9 years. And these are just picks. These aren't other free agents. Trey White, Milano, Tremaine got the 1 year and then he was gone after that. Teron Johnson, Ed Oliver, Groot, Epinesa, Bernard. I mean, all these guys are getting extended, and the return of investment that you're getting on them is minimal. Not to mention the Von Millers and guys like that. Not to mention these guys. Oh, Boza, yeah. I mean, there's example after example versus the offensive guys that we did take that have gotten extensions that we've gotten out of. Look at what you've gotten out of Deion Dawkins. And I know that it's a tough name for everybody because they don't want to acknowledge the value that he brings. But Dawson Knox, man, I'm telling you, that's a good player. Yeah, and that's actually that was a good extension before they drafted Kincaid.
True.
Okay. That was a good move. Yeah, that was a good move.
And he kind of still is, right? Because we need his blocking, right? Kincaid is not an every down player, so.
Yeah, and well, he's got issues health-wise too.
Yeah.
But Spencer Brown, James Cook, Khalil Shakir, Torrance, all guys drafted, all guys that either are or should be getting extensions. Torrance, we'll see. It's a guard, so you don't know, right? And I don't think Kincaid should get an extension either, honestly. I honestly, with the health situation there, I don't know if you should cut bait on him after 4 years or 5 years, whether they want to do that 5th year, whatever.
Especially
that's a different conversation.
Probably will do with the wide receiver room, right? If they can get a nice or a new wide receiver 1 or new wide receiver 2 that Josh doesn't need to rely so much on him, because now that's all Josh has, right? Like Kincaid and Shakir. So
So I mean, if you just go up and down, and that's just draft picks. I mean, and again, I'm not absolving Beane of some really bad things. Curtis Samuel was dumb when they signed him. It's been maddening to watch people try and make a case for Curtis Samuel. He's never been a top end NFL player, or even a really above mid tier NFL player. He's always hurt. He had one good year in Carolina, and that's when Christian McCaffrey was out for the season. It was by force. It was by default that they had to use him, and he happened to stay healthy that they got a decent season out of him. Other than that, he's been a bad player at the NFL level.
I'm like this on Palmer, I'm exactly like this on Palmer, like not so different in his situation.
I mean, and like Palmer clearly, didn't pan out this year. That's another one. I mean, it's just there's been bad on both sides of it, but I think that in this case with Beane, I want to see what he does in this draft and this free agency without that top down pressure from McDermott saying we need guys that fit this. Whoever the new coach is that he brings in, and again, just like last offseason, if you remember, I said McDermott has nowhere to hide. Mm-hmm. Beane's in the same situation this year. He's got full control. He's got nowhere to hide. If you come out this year and you shit the bed in picks and free agency and everything else, man, you got no excuses. You've got none.
Even the promotion, people are like, "Oh, he got promoted. It's horrible," and stuff like that. And I see the promotion kind of like, Terry, look, now McDermott is out and now it's you. It's on you now. Everybody's looking at you now. Yeah, I see a promotion like this. He can't mess up with the new head coach and finding a way to make it work quickly for the new head coach.
You know what that promotion is? That promotion's a double-edged sword, because what it is that, he goes to the owner, Beane goes to the owner, and in their conversations, he basically intimates that he hasn't had full ability to take the players and to build the roster the way that he would want to because of that pressure for McDermott to get positional archetypes that fit schemes, right? So Terry says, theoretically, this is what we're thinking. Terry says, all right, based on the feedback that I've gotten from Sean and the feedback that I'm getting from you, I think that you would make a strong point. So we're going to let go of Sean. You're going to stay here. You're going to be fully in charge of the op. And whether it's said or unsaid, the message is you're fully in charge of the op, which means it's all on your head. You pick the players, you pick the coaches, and you live with the results. And if you can't handle it and you can't deliver, then you're out the fucking door too. Exactly. That's what's happening.
Exactly.
It's a promotion in title, but really what it is more pressure for performance.
Exactly. Now it's on you. You're next in line. There is nobody else, right? And Tim Graham put it very well in his article on The Athletic yesterday when he pointed out that Pegula always likes to have somebody, a football guy on his side, helping him or at least advising him through this process. He did it with Whaley and he did it with Russ Brandon, right? And they were alongside him during the process, hired McDermott, helped hiring Rex Ryan before, and then McDermott, right? Helped during the draft, and then gone after they found McDermott and he started to trust McDermott enough. Whaley was gone, Russ Brandon was gone, So it's not like Beane is completely safe. His seat is pretty warm, and he gotta act quickly and make it right quickly. And Randy, people say, "Oh, you are making a lot of assumptions and stuff like that," but they are assuming Beane is the snake. Like, oh, Beane is the snake. Beane is Judas because he did it to McDermott. McDermott was a saint. And let me tell you one thing. From my experience as a former soccer player, I've been through locker rooms, a lot of head coaches and general managers and team presidents, and other players. And man, we gotta pay attention because no matter what happens, we never saw or we've never seen Brandon Beane say something to the media like, I drafted the guys, but McDermott doesn't play them. I brought the guys in, but McDermott don't develop them, or he choose one guy and now he doesn't want him anymore, right? Beane never badmouthed McDermott. Beane never badmouthed Brady. Oh, you say we need receivers, but the head coach and the offensive coordinator want to run the ball. We need blockers there. He never directed blame. He was always on their side, defending. We put up 30 points per game.
And look, that's another great point to bring up, is that how much the offensive frustrations that we as fans have had over the past few years have been a result of the philosophy of the head coach wanting to be ball control, run heavy, risk averse, cut down the turnovers, long drives, chew up clock, less time for the defense on the field. It all ties back to the head coach's philosophy of how to play and win football games and what that has done to the roster and the decisions that are made. That is what a lot of people are missing. I don't view this as Brandon Beane being a snake and going behind his back and all this other stuff. What I view it as is when there's conversations with the owner, both separately and together, Pegula has to evaluate everything and make the decision that's best for the franchise, right? And I think if you look at everything objectively from the side of who and what and where and how it all fits together in the giant puzzle that this is, I think that I have more faith that Brandon Beane might be able to get a different result moving forward than Sean McDermott has in the past 9 years and moving forward from that too. I don't think that McDermott is going to alter his approach to games, to scheme, to game management, to player management, and I don't think he's going to alter it enough to get us over the hump and to get us through the spots where it's most important. He's proven time and time and time and time again that sometimes maybe he just overthinks it or the moment's too big for him. But in those moments, man, it's short every single time. So you got to make a change.
Exactly.
And you don't want to completely start over right off the bat. So you keep the GM in place and say, look, man, it's all on you now. You make all the picks, you make all the coaching selections, you deal with the cap. And if you want to pass some of that down, if you want to hire a GM and you'll be president of football ops and you'll be over that GM, and be over their shoulder, that's your decision. If that's what you want to do, that's fine. But it's the whole op is on you now. You create the structure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. And just concluding my line of thought there, Beane has been the team guy. If you are the owner analyzing, Beane has been the team guy. He even came out in defending the choices, wide receiver choices. We have enough. The offense is scoring. Even if he's wrong, he was the team guy there. On the other hand, you have a head coach who's on to the media, manipulating fans. And it worked because we can see the reactions by fans now being on his side, being willing to give him one more year because maybe this year he did a great job with what was gave to him. Why do people think like this? Because he goes to the media and says, oh, my general manager, could have made a trade for Jacoby Myers. What a great player Jacoby Myers is, right? And he goes to the media and, my offensive coordinator, they're running the ball too much. They got to throw a little bit more. When he was the guy who beefed with Dable, who was the guy who fired Dorsey because they threw the ball too much? Now it's the opposite. So you are always to the media. It shouldn't go to the media, man. You never see Josh blaming anybody to the media. Josh was out there crying and say, I let down my teammates, when he was the main reason they still had a shot.
Let me bring something else up.
Blaming everybody else, man. He fired the defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator, all the coaches, It's never him.
Let me bring something else up. You got a chance, and you're in discussions to acquire Jalen Waddle at the deadline. The price is 2 firsts. What do you think the reaction from Sean McDermott was when he said, hey, we could get Waddle, but it's going to cost us 2 firsts?
True. Too expensive.
Oh, man. We're going to need those picks. We got defensive line to come get.
We don't have enough talent already.
Yeah, we don't have enough talent. We're going to have to get more corners soon. Who?
Yeah.
We just drafted Hairston. And we got Benford on a big extension over there. But we're going to need more backup corners. I mean, look, Dorian Strong might never play again. So we're going to need another we can't give away our mid-round picks so we can draft more undersized linebackers and corners and rotational D linemen high. We can't give up the 32nd potential or 29th or whatever overall pick to Miami. They've been so great at drafting. What would they do with it? We couldn't possibly want to give away 2 late 20s, early 30s picks to Miami. It might come back and bite us. Versus getting a 26-year-old stud receiver that goes out and torches us the following week. Giving Josh a number 1, which, by the way, would help out Knox and Kincaid.
Exactly, man. And
why the fuck would you want to do that?
Yeah, I stood to my comment. I think fans way too often are too naive, and they allow people to manipulate them through the media, and it's being naive. It's choosing to believe in crazy stuff, in the fairy tale and stuff like that, because, man, it's obvious. McDermott is out there blaming everybody else. 13 seconds was on Frazier and the special teams. Shed Hall couldn't have a friendship with and a good relationship with his wide receivers, and we know how good our wide receiver room was back then. Then change the defensive backs coach, change the linebackers coach, change the offensive coordinators because they pass too much. Now the offensive coordinator is running too much, and I want defensive players. You don't put them on the field. You don't develop them. You don't trust them enough. Trust instead your veterans. And then it's Beane who can draft. when you need a certain archetype to fit your scheme. So it's a lot of stuff. And if I'm the owner and I see one guy blaming everybody else and trying to play the great guy, here in Brazil with soccer we have the guy who kisses the the logo, I forgot the right name for the squad logo. Here we have guys who first day signing they kiss the logo and they are like, oh, I play for you, fan base and stuff like that, and the fans went crazy. But behind the scenes, the guy wants his money, and when he goes to the rival, he does the same stuff. And McDermott was out there. I stood up for Buffalo, and I'm here, and it was wrong because they should have ruled it a catch. Man, what will it change? What could have changed the game? Maybe you continue to be aggressive and blitz the guy on 3rd and 11. So enough, man, enough.
Yeah.
I'm sick of seeing Josh being wasted and putting everything on himself. And I feel like, Randy, in Buffalo, it seems like playoff caliber and falling short is good enough because maybe people remember the good old days, the wide right, the Music City Miracle. And now we are again living that. So we are in the good old days because we are falling short every year. And every year we have a new one. Cook's catch, Kincaid's drop, 13 seconds.
And look, what it comes down to is I think that people are getting a little bit overly reliant on, oh, well, Josh will put the cape on, and it's like, man.
And he must be perfect.
Yeah, you can only do that so many times. And look, I've been a Josh Allen supporter since day one, before day one. Back in the early Wyoming days, I was a Josh Allen guy, and I will never back down from that. I think that he is absolutely the best quarterback in the NFL. Overall, I think that he's not perfect, but he's the right guy for Buffalo, and he always has been. And I believe that wholeheartedly. But, man, you can't continually rely on him to put you in positions to win, and then when he walks off the field, say, okay, we just got to hold it together, and then fail, and then say that it's not on you. Like,
yeah, make one play for me, make one stop for me, help me once. I get your back every time. You can't get my back once. And it's not even fully because it's not like he had a CJ Stroud game. It's not like he had a Drake May game. He had a better game than that. EPA says so. It was the 4th best performance by a quarterback these playoffs. I'm not saying that. It's EPA wise. And one of those 4 was his performance against the Jaguars when he was almost perfect. And you need it every time so you can win by 3. It's not a good team. It's not good coaching, especially if you are a defensive coach and your defense only play 1/2 or 1 quarter. So.
Well, why are they constantly having to adjust defensively after the first half or the first, like,
what are you watching? What are they watching during the week? What are they game planning for?
Why the slow starts all of a sudden that puts you behind or puts you in a position where you need to start making these resurgent comebacks or what have you? Like, you're supposed to be the guru, and for 9 years, we've seen a lot of the same issues rear up year over year. And it's just like, man, if you're not learning from your mistakes, I don't care what the sound bites say. If you're not learning from them, then it's time to go. And look, I think McDermott's a good guy. I think he's a good man. He's a good husband and all that good stuff. But you know what? It was time. At some point, Tony Dungy had to get taken out in Indianapolis. Andy Reid had to go in Philly. At some point, it's time to make a change, and you got to bring in something radically different to get a different result. Dungy goes out. Oh, sorry, in Dungy in Tampa. Dungy goes out. Gruden comes in. Super Bowl, right?
Fox goes out. Kubiak comes in. Super Bowl, Broncos.
Exactly. Sometimes it takes a shock to the system to get that different result, to get you over the hump. That's what we're hoping for here,
Exactly.
And I'll be honest, if there are some players here that are going to be vocal about losing their guy and everything, and maybe they need to go too.
Yeah, and I also tweeted that the players who were kind of tweeting, "Oh, you got what you wanted." Oh, in negative stuff. Were the guys who are as good as gone? Daquan Jones, he's probably gone. Jordan Phillips, he openly says he would only play for Buffalo. Shaq
Yeah,
Lawson, and then people tweeted at me like, "Oh, Dion Dawkins, oh, Maxwell Harrison." The guys were being thankful. I'm thankful for McDermott. Thanks, coach,
yeah,
for everything. Thank you.
sure.
But time to move on. Might be better for us, might be better for him. People say, "I remember Andy Reid." Yeah, I remember Andy Reid working for him, but working for Philly as well. How many Super Bowls Philly has won since that? You know, and during the 9 years of McDermott, Philly had two different coaches winning Super Bowls already. So it's time, man. And I'm glad Pegula did it because he certainly could have just stayed put,
Yeah,
right? But he did it. So I definitely praise Pegula for making the move. Will he get it right? I don't know. But he had to do something. The options were keep McDermott and fire the GM. You really think they can hire a GM who would have any impact over McDermott? Or who would magically draft perfectly in his archetype the best players ever and it would all fall right? I don't think so. And then you got to fire McDermott, so it wouldn't really be a change. Keeping McDermott as the head coach, we wouldn't have a change. We would have more continuity from the 9 years. Keeping both, worst case scenario, total continuity. Firing both, I'm good with that, but it wouldn't be easy for Pegula now to hire a GM, the GM come in, all the scouting is already made or the process, and who would help him picking the GM, picking the new head coach. So a lot of stuff, short time period. So I can make sense of Beane staying, even if I am critical of Beane as well,
yeah,
right? It makes sense. It's not like people are overreacting, and mostly because McDermott is gone. So when Tyrod Taylor was gone, there were takes like, "You're gonna miss Tyrod Taylor. You're gonna regret this decision," right? There are a lot of people tweeting, "Dark days ahead." You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
bro, you really believe Josh is who you think he is? Because doesn't sound like it. If you think dark days are ahead now, there is some continuity. There are familiar options, even if they want to go this route. So
Yeah, I saw somebody saying something about like, oh, maybe Josh is gonna ask for a trade, and I'm like, he's never indicated anything whatsoever that he would do anything close to that or be that type of guy. But if you want to go down that rabbit hole and say the best player in the league, top 2 quarterback, top 3 quarterback in the league wants to get traded, well, guess what? The price is 5 first-round picks. The price is 5 first-round picks. It's like draft day. I want your number 1 picks for the next 5 fucking years. And if you're not going to do that, or your best player, I want Max Crosby and your number 1 picks for the next 3 years. Something like that. And if you're not going to do it, then guess what? You're not going anywhere. Like it's ridiculous. Some of the things that I've seen, I think there's a lot of overreaction going on. I think we really need to let it play out and see what happens. I know that some people hate certain ideas and others like them and whatnot. There's a lot to get through with this, but I think the point is that it was time for a change, and we just have to. Ironically, we got to trust the process moving forward,
true.
right?
That's true. That's true.
Maybe the process has changed a little bit, but we still got to trust it to see if this team can get where we want it to go.
Absolutely. Bills Mafia, hit that like button, subscribe to my own Fernando Schmude channel, also to Rumblings Network. I appreciate your support. Randy, to close it out, I don't want to take more of your time, already almost 1 hour, but a lot of names being mentioned, how, and possibilities. What's your what do you think about this situation right now? What would be ideal in your world, or do you have any preferences? I surely have not one, but some options that I'd be happy with, and curious to see how things go. But what's your opinion on that?
I think there are some good names out there. I think that there were some better ones, namely Stefanski. If he had just waited a week, I think that would have been the front runner. But the one that I don't want, Mike Tomlin, namely,
Okay,
keep
okay,
him as far away from it as possible.
okay,
Mike McDaniel, no, thank you.
okay.
I don't need the cool guy wonder kid, in the building.
Yeah,
Um,
he
you
doesn't
know,
have the pants to live in Buffalo, you know.
no,
Too short
I
his
just yeah,
pants.
you have to have the pants, right? But no, I think and like I could understand where there's some apprehension about like bringing back like Brian Daboll, you know. Um, I think it would really depend on behind the scenes what his actual relationship with Brandon Beane is and if they would be on the same page. I think that there is a lot of validity to the idea that Davis Webb coming in as like an OC if he has a relationship with whoever the head coach is. So like if you play that thread out and say if they bring Dable in as head coach, offensive structure familiarity, Davis Webb comes in as OC, for example, right?
Hmm,
There's a
hmm.
lot of continuity there on the offensive side of the ball, a lot of shared vision, familiarity with Josh, good relationships there. I could see something like that
Josh not
work.
wanting to be traded, them certainly.
Yeah, I mean, I could see how that would work. I could also see where there would be a lot of nervousness about how that could fail dramatically. You know, do you go after, a hot name like a Clint Kubiak or somebody like that? I mean, there's a lot of options out there. Do they go
Hmm,
after a known name on defense like a Raheem Morris or somebody like
hmm,
that, and then bring in a superstar offensive coordinator candidate or somebody young and up and coming? Do they go after a Cliff Kingsbury, as somebody mentioned? I mean, there's all sorts of names out there. I think it really, really, really is going to depend on the the conversations and the shared vision and the honesty with Brandon Beane and whoever these guys are, and say, look, this is where we're at. This is what we have in front of us. This is where we want to go. Can you deliver that with what we have?
hmm,
And just being
hmm,
transparent about their money situation, cap, what have you, saying, look, we can make this available to build this, but it's going to cost us this, you know, and just really having open conversations with the people that are coming in once they get to the point of, we think you're the guy, or I think you're the guy, but now we need to have a real conversation, you know,
hmm,
and I think pulling back all the curtains is important when making this hire.
hmm, hmm. Awesome. Yeah, man. I definitely have some names I'd like, and Dable is one of them. And I see a lot of people being like, "Oh, Dable was awful with the Giants, and Dable flamed out there." And man, he didn't have Josh there, right? The last memory I have from Dable and Josh together is the best possible, like the best we've seen Josh and the best we've seen this offense with them playing that perfect game against the Patriots and then two game winning drives against the Chiefs, but two wasted game winning drives inside the two last minutes. But Dable was a head coach of the year in year one, right? What proves that he can come in and be an impactful guy from day one, especially in a day he already worked and knows and has a great
Yeah,
relationship with the quarterback. And I also, just like you said, if they bring Dable on, it's because they are cool with what happened in New York. They have information from Jen there, right? They can know everything about what happened there, and they have familiarity with him in the building as well. So I can see how Dable is a worse option than McDermott continuing. Can see it. We can give it a shot. And also, oh, but he will flame out after 3 years. I don't care if you had already won the Super Bowl. Josh, 33 years old, we already won one or two. If he flames out, oh, good, man. He got one Super Bowl. This hire isn't anymore to be competitive forever. Brandon Beane, who always said, we got to stay competitive forever, we will see a change in this talk soon, I believe. He will
well
stop with this. he gotta deliver. You
That
know?
Rams quote is going to haunt him. That Rams
Yeah,
quote is going to haunt him. I will
yeah,
say that.
yeah,
That was a little bit of foot and mouth right there. Because guess what? They're one game from another Super Bowl. So
yeah. And now the talk will be Josh is 30. We gotta get it done for him. Stuff like that. It's easy, right? To sell the change of mind, you know. Everybody knows he's on hot seat now. And Dable is an option. Obviously, you've got to find a great defensive coordinator. I don't know if Schwartz will be available. I'd love Gene Schwartz. Pieces gotta be different, obviously, but it's for every new scheme, right?
mhm.
And Kubiak is an interesting name for sure. You know, like up and coming, doing well with Darnold now. Darnold is big friends with Josh. They can get some information there as well. And again, you gotta find a great defensive coordinator, you know. And I will tell one thing: I don't want Brady back, you know. But even if they go this route, I think it's better than staying with McDermott because we don't know Brady without McDermott. We know Brady doing what McDermott wants: pound the rock, ball control offense. So going Brady wouldn't be absolutely staying the same direction with the offense, but I don't see Brady as your leader, your head coach type, you know. But man, I'm anxious and curious to see who they are gonna hire because I think there are a lot of options and it's new. And I know the new is not always better. You know, there are no guarantees the guy will be better than McDermott, but it was time for a change. And just to be able, man, this year in my preview, I literally predicted the 12-5 record from the four losses, 13-4, 5 losses, right? 12 and
Yeah,
5. I
yeah.
from the 5 losses, I predicted correctly 3 of them. Okay, to Miami, to New England, and my preview at Buffalo Rumblings was like, okay, we have a regular season ahead, but it doesn't matter because we know they will have a good regular season. They will win the division. Maybe they don't win the division, but they get in through wild card. Okay, anything out of this is an implosion. Probably won't happen. It didn't happen again. And in the playoffs, we'll see. And in the playoffs, we saw again the defense failing again, both games. You know,
Yeah.
so man, it's time, and I'm excited and to see what's happening next. And hopefully they get it right. And I think they have a lot of options, so they can't mess up with this situation.
Absolutely. And we'll jump on, again, once the hires are made and everything and talk about it all and, go through all the different scenarios and where it could lead for drafting and free agency and whatnot. But, if nothing else, it's a nervous excitement for what the future holds for the Bills. So,
Yeah, that's it. Definitely, man. Excited, and we'll see. It will be a great talk. It will be a busy off season, different off season, and man, I have hope again because I want Super Bowl. You know, playoff caliber isn't good enough. It
yep.
maybe was good enough when we had Trent Edwards, when you had Ryan Fitzpatrick, when you had Tyrod Taylor, when you had you know Drew Bledsoe. Man,
Yeah.
you
I
have
mean,
Josh Allen. You gotta
look,
go for the big game.
the head coach could be a deaf blind midget. I don't care as long as he helps us win a Super Bowl. It doesn't matter to me. It makes
Exactly.
no difference.
Exactly. That's it, man. So, Randy, thank you so much for joining me today, and definitely you will be welcome back when some decisions are made and we can discuss the next steps for the Bills this off season. Thank you so much, brother.
Appreciate it, man. Have a good one.
Bills Mafia, thank you so much. Hit that like button, subscribe to my own channel, and I'll be back with more content as soon as the Bills move on the process and interview some candidates and finally hire one. So hit the like button, subscribe to my own YouTube channel, to Rumblings Network as well. Pay attention to rumblings.com. I'm writing there and a lot of content weekly there. So thank you so much for your support and see you around. Go Bills.